right? So we are talking about southern blotting. In one or two slides, I'll try to summarize the method, which is already known to you. So when it comes to southern blotting, we call it as nucleic acid blotting or DNA blotting also, because it is southern is to DNA. The very first technique that was developed by scientist Southern, and in the honor of his name, we call it as southern blotting. So identification of specific DNA segments in a given genomic DNA is one of the basic application of southern blotting that we say. So how do we go for it? As you can see in the picture, you are going to have target DNA. It is treated with restriction enzymes. The fragments are separated using the gel which is run as the first gel that you are seeing. Then the as the gel runs, the fragments get separated, and they are going to be based on their sizes. Right now, when you are going to see these bands, these are for seeing these bands you need to go for some treatments, right? But here what is the condition? The bands are invisible. So what next treatment is, you have to transfer it to nylon sheet, but before that you are going to denature the DNA, in the sense whatever sample fragments you had run, they were dsDNA, you have to separate them as ssDNA. So you are going to denature them with the help of alkaline denaturing solution. Maybe example is sodium hydroxide solution. Yeah, right. Then these DNA fragments are transferred to nylon sheet, and the nylon sheet is, that is what blotting we say, right? So it is going to get transferred to the nylon sheet, there where you use those buffer and buffer wicks, and the weight is kept, and the filter papers and stacking, all that stuff, right? I need not repeat on that. So you are going to transfer it to nylon sheet, and then the membrane on which these DNA fragments have got transferred, these membranes will be dipped in a solution, and the solution is going to contain labeled DNA probe molecules. So a label could be a radio label or fluorescent label. Yes, depends on what the system that you are handling. Now, the probe is going to be the segment of DNA, a small oligonucleotide stretch, which is labeled with a radio label or fluorescent label. Yes, but the sequence, when it comes to oligonucleotide probe sequence, it is going to be complementary to the specific region in the DNA of your interest. So the probe will bind to those fragments where the sequence similarity or complementarity is there, and it will hybridize with it. So when the probe hybridizes to the corresponding DNA, the filter will be hot. Hot is because we are talking about radioactivity. So radioactivity is there. So that radioactivity can be mapped with autoradiography technique. So you are going to expose it, the photographic film to it, and you are going to develop the black spots which are corresponding to the hybrid molecules only. So black spots is equal to hybridization happened. So that is telling you about complementarity. So southern blotting only refers to hybridization of DNA to DNA. This is what we all know, right? You have been talking about it since your SYTY. So this is the summary of the steps what I spoke. So you can take a photograph of it. I am not going to repeat. Let's go to the next step. So here southern blotting, it has got many applications in molecular biology research. So may it be cloning, genomic DNA containing gene to be cloned is blotted, hybridized to identify one or more restriction fragments. So maybe when you are talking about cloning experiment, then you are, of course, it is use of electrophoresis is there, use of restriction enzymes is there, and blotting technique is a part of is the technique which includes all these as a part and parcel of it. So you are going to treat the desired gene with the restriction enzymes. The restriction fragments are generated, may it be a single desired gene. When you do southern blotting, then then you can identify the tentative clones. They can be isolated, and you can get the desired gene and possibly identify a smaller subfragment within which the gene lies. So not necessarily you should be able to find out the complete genome you are talking about. It is a single gene within a clone, the library construct clone, right? So within that fragment, based on restriction fragment analysis, and that is analyzed with southern blotting methodology. This is one of the applications, right, to identify a particular fragment or subfragment within a gene, that can be done. Second is Southern blotting is in restriction fragment length polymorphism. Again, here you are going to use the restriction digestion, that is the enzymes you are going to use, and RFLP profiling you are going to do. So RFLP is what, when you are going to treat your segment or DNA with enzymes. So the restriction sites that are present in the genome of sub members of a population. So in a genome, in a given genome, this is the restriction pattern. For example, whatever you are studying, X is the restriction pattern, and at this particular location, it has to get cut. If it is modified, if it is deleted, if it is mutated, then that fragment will not get generated, right? So restriction fragment length polymorphism also we have talked in earlier semesters also and this semester also. But the point is, any change in the sequence can be identified with variations at a particular base, deletion, addition, substitution, whatever it may be. So restriction fragment generation will be affected. So the restriction fragment profile will be different. So whatever RFLP arises, if the restriction site is present in the genome in some of the members of the population, but it is absent in the another member of the population, that means whatever is matching with the standard pattern is normal, and where it gets altered indicates abnormality. So that can be applied for finding out the polymorphism regions, you can say. And polymorphism, if whether it is present or absent, you can detect with RFLP method. And polymorphism can be of use as a diagnostic tool again. So variations in the particular genome sequence which encodes for a particular enzyme, for example. So if it is altered, then that enzyme may not be functional. It may lead to certain disorders. So RFLP pattern, there also you take help of Southern blotting. So it is very important in diagnostic of heritable diseases. Another thing is plasmid to plasmid hybridization. That is the simple form of Southern blot. So you can say it is one of the application. So plasmid DNA is digested with restriction enzymes, and then electrophoresis is gel. On the gel is done, and then it is blotted. So a piece of plasmid, a clone fragment, or a fragment that is isolated from the gel is used as a probe for hybridization. So such experiments, Conley hybridization experiment, Fage hybridization experiment, you must have heard in TY. So that is what is the application we are talking about. So you can find out the restriction map of that particular gene or of that particular plasmid or that particular construct. So you can find out the restriction map, right? So then blotting is applicable in that also. So here are some of the examples where the disorder detection can be done when we talk about deletions or duplications of the whole gene. So one example is taken here is congenital adrenal hyperplasia, that is CAH. So this is just read here. I'll show a photograph which will elaborate more on it. So it is telling you about CYP21A2 gene. So it is the name of the gene, CYP, right? CYP21A2 is the gene. Now it is found in 25 to 30% of these patients who are suffering of congenital adrenal hyperplasia, right? In such cases, can you take help of Southern blot to find out how it has arose, this particular disorder, how it has arose? So is there any abnormality in the gene which is responsible for this particular functionality which is getting affected? So yes, it has been found that gene duplication, deletion, or gene rearrangements, they are found in such patients. So let's see the example here in the next slide. Is it that? Just a second. Let me come to that particular example. Yes. Uh, so you can see if it is this particular gene. Okay. Uh, No, I'm sorry. That particular photograph I haven't added to the slides. But yes, you can remember. We will take some more examples. But here it is just one example. Key addition, deletion, duplication or any kind of gene rearrangement can be detected using southern blot. And one of the example which is as a diagnostic tool where this southern blot technique is used is in detection of congenital adrenal hyperplasia. Fine, it's this example schematically is not, I have not added. Let's take some other examples. So here, example of, okay, fine. Immunoglobulin T cell receptor gene and its rearrangement, that is one application. And one case that we have to talk about is this particular myot myotonic dystrophy is another example. Like जैसे hyperplasia, adrenal hyperplasia की एक केस है, वैसे ये दूसरी केस है, similar it will go, only the example is different. So this schematic representation is for myotonic dystrophy. This is the disorder which is caused by a variation in the particular sequence and particular gene. Now, what is that gene and what is the particular sequence? The gene is DMPK, all in caps, DMPK gene, right? In the DMPK gene, there are alterations. What are the alterations? Are they specific? Yes, they are specific with respect to a particular trinucleotide. What are the components of trinucleotide? It is CTG. Now, these CTG repeats are there in DMPK gene. Okay. Now, if the individual is normal, then unaffected individual will have a limited number of copies of this repeat. Matlab, at a particular gene, what is that gene? DMPK gene. In the DMPK gene, you will find 5 to 35 copies of CTG nucleotide. CTG, 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 up to 35 times. Fine. But maximum 35, minimum 5. But affected individuals can have several thousand copies of this CTG. So a normal or slightly enlarged number of repeats, if they are there, then they can be detected by PCR. And the number of repeats in an allele with a large expansion can be detected by size of the band. So what I'm saying, let's see this particular diagram. What you are saying, this is DMPK gene. And in the DMPK gene, there is a zone where you have repetitions of particular sequence that is identified, CTG. So is this repetition normal? Yes. In normal individual also, CTG ka multiple copies are present in a sequence, about 5 to 35 copies. But if this number goes on increasing by duplications or rearrangement of genes or insertions of some transposable elements which is having CTG kind of a repeat in it, then these CTG repeats up to 1,000 copies will be present, right? So myotrophic dystrophy type 1 and type 2, they are shown here, wherein you are going to find different number of uh, 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 repetitions of CTG sequence, and again whether it is homozygous or heterozygous, that also can be detected, right? So how can we detect this? So as I said, the presence of this particular sequence can be detected by PCR amplification. You can select a particular primer as an amplicon, and you can just see whether this particular sequence is getting formed, right? And it will show you how many number of repeats are there. But when it comes to large expansions in the allele, then you have to take help of southern blot, right? Now let's see southern blotting gel. This is the southern blotting gel. You can see three lanes over here: lane number 1, lane number 2, lane number 3. In lane number 1, you have just a very broad diffuse band. In lane number 2, you have two bands, and in lane number 3, you have two bands, but they are separated. All right. Now, what do they stand for? So, lane number 1 is what you are going to have this kind of a pattern, southern blot pattern, formed if individual is normal homozygous for 5 CTG repeats, which is 5 to 35, which is normal, but with 5 CTG repeats. This will be the band. If it is individual which is affected with dystrophy type 1, then you are going to find a normal allele with 5 repeats and one additional one, in which 130 repeats are there. So here you are seeing in the lane number 2, this is with normal and this is with CTC 130 repeats. That means it is myotonic dystrophy type 1. And lane number 3 represents myotonic dystrophy type 2. So individuals which are affected with dystrophy, you are going to get more number of repeats and in the allele. So abnormal alleles which are going to have up to 500 sorry 700 repeats, so they will be big ones and they will not travel much on the electrophoretic gel. So uh, the position of the band also matters. So this is not a single band. Here you see two different bands, and the positioning of these two different bands in lane number 2 and lane number 3 also is varying. This is varying because the size of the CTG repeats. So you can take that gene, you can go for its analysis with southern blot, and you can detect whether the individual is normal or it is affected with affected due to uh, presence of repeated copies of CTG. Right. So this is how southern blot can be used in diagnostics as a tool to find out certain abnormalities which cannot be detected by any other methods of interest or easy methods for diagnosis. All right. So this was one example. Now another thing is with immunoglobulins. This is another example as an application of southern blotting. I want to talk to you. See, before I go to this, okay, fine, we have time. We can go with it. Now, as you all know, this is the structure of antibody. It has got a constant region, it has got the variable region, and the variable regions, the arrangement of sequences in the variable genes, they are showing multiple rearrangements, and every time you are going to get the antibody which is formed having a variable different region formed. So it is the basic thing that you have learned. All right, now let's connect it with uh, uh, the SCID condition, immunodeficiency condition, which is very severe immunodeficiency condition. So it is referred to as severe combined immunodeficiency SCID condition, where you can see the inflammation, erythroedema, and lymphadenopathy. This is a child in which these symptoms are seen, and they are very there in I mean the neonatal cases. Right now, this is referred to as Omenn syndrome, right, where you have SCID. Now the thing is, the antigen binding receptor molecules and B and T lymphocytes, you know how they are synthesized, right? So with the genes encoding the B cell receptor and T cell receptor undergo rearrangement and recombinations, and of course for these rearrangements, recombinations within the cell, they are happening, right? In vivo they are happening. So you have to take help of n number of enzymes which are working inside the cell. So recombinases, they work uh, in the cell, they rearrange the fragments, and variable regions are generated for antibody also. And here you talk about the T cell and B cell receptors on the surface also. So heavy and light chains genes, that is BCR and TCR genes, right, they are going to get altered with number of recombinase enzymes. They are referred to as RAGs, that is recombination activation gene 1 and 2. Right now, RAG, what are the RAG? RAG are the genes which are going to activate recombination in these genes which are there in T cell and B cells, and are going to be responsible for variations in the receptors on these cells, as well as antibodies variable regions also. You have such kind of rearrangements. So the genes will be working, and they will encode the enzymes that are recombinases, so that will allow recombination and rearrangement of immunoglobulins in B cell and in T cell receptors. All right, so these rearrangements will occur because of RAG genes, RAG1 and RAG2. But if there is deficiency in RAG1 or RAG2 gene, then it will lead to immunodeficiency syndrome, that is severe combined immunodeficiency, SCID. So there are the outcome is what? Immunodeficient child is there, right? That means there is no mature B or T cell in the periphery. So how this can happen? It is happening because of deficiency of RAG1 and RAG2 products. That means there is some deficiency, some alteration, some mutation in RAG1 and RAG2 genes. Yes, missense mutations are there in RAG genes, and these will lead to reduced expression or no expression of these RAG factors, that is recombination activation factors. So there won't be any recombination. So number of T cell and T cell receptors on the surface, and in case of B cell, the antibodies which are going to get generated, all are going to be compromised. Variation in रहेगा. So as a result, you are going to have a very less number of uh, these molecules, that is mature B and T cells in the periphery, will be absent. So missense mutations in the RAJ gene lead to Omenn syndrome, and with no B lymphocytes and severe reduction in lymphocytes in the population. So how can we detect? Again, it can be detected with sudden blotting. So what blotting patterns, how do they look like, that we have seen in the previous slide, right? So variable regions, that is what we are talking about, right? So variable region detection, of course, restriction fragment length polymorphism, this is what you have learned earlier. So it is with reference to that as an example of it. What is this RFLP technique? RFLP technique is restriction fragment length polymorphism. So the word itself is telling you. So homologous DNA sequences, if there are differences, they can be detected by the restriction mapping. So you are going to take help of restriction enzymes. You are going to cut that the DNA sample, and or the DNA sample in question, and then you are going to use RFLP as a molecular marker to find out if there are any changes happening into the restriction map of the particular sequence. So what you see here, let's take an example here. Now here is the normal sequence, and here is a mutated sequence. How do I say it is normal and how it is mutated? Here are the arrows, right? These three arrows, they indicate sites of action for three different restriction enzymes. But if you see there are only two arrows, that means a restriction site at this position is altered or changed, so that restriction enzyme cannot function or act here, right? So if I take this as a normal and this is disease condition, I treat these DNAs, they are isolated from normal person, this is from the disease or patient, and then it is restriction digest and it is electrophorest. On electrophoresis, I will get so many fragments because it is restriction digested, and that similarly here for a patient also I'll get so many fragments. But if I blot it, right, take it on the membrane and add a complementary probe to that, only here these particular sequences, because I have designed probes, right, specific oligonucleotide sequence I have designed which is characteristic for this particular part of the gene. So I have added it, it will be complementary only to these regions, it will bind over there, and it will be showing the pattern, right? So here I am getting two bands, and here I am getting only single band, which is because of the disease condition. Because three cutting sites, you will get two bands, and if there are two cutting sites, you will get only one band. So in a disease condition, one cutting site is missing, so you are getting one band. So by comparing southern blot profile, you can get to know about whether the gene is having any mutations. So southern blotting का application in RFLP we are trying to discuss over here, and this can be very well used for genotyping. So inheritance of RFLP markers. So this is the marker, right? The absence of this restriction site is signifying a disease condition. So this is a kind of a RFLP marker. So are they going to get inherited populations to population? So this is how it is, a schematic diagram that represents ki you can find out the inheritance of RFLP markers using southern blot technique. So here are the parents, right? So this is they have either genotype capital A, small a, or a hybrid heterozygous AA. So this will be the profile. And if you talk about their children, then what kind of genotype you can get. So these are the possible things, right? And what kind of bands it will generate, that is shown, right? So in the siblings, if it is normal, what kind of band pattern will be there? If it is uh, uh, heterozygous and one single strand, one allele is affected, what kind of pattern you will get? If it is recessive, what kind of pattern you will get? So southern blotting can be used to find out, or genotyping, the inheritance of RFLP markers in in study of population genetics also. It has got applications in genome mapping for analysis of variations. So you can say it is useful in genotyping. It is useful in forensics. It is useful in paternity test, hereditary diseases, diagnostics, so on and so forth. So when it comes to southern blot, uh, this is what I wanted to share with you. I'll just go through very rapidly the slides which we have seen in the today's lecture. This is the general flow chart for southern blot. These are the steps how the process goes. Here are some of the applications of southern blot, and here are some of the applications which are discussed in details. RFLP as advanced version of restriction fragment length polymorphism as application of southern blotting technique. Here is one example that is application of detecting uh, abnormalities at the genetic level in and that are useful in diagnostic diseases. Here is another example that is of myotonic dystrophy, and with this, probably the story ends.